care with the workers who are brought into this country to do that work that don't have status, without a voice, and who can be deported for speaking up, then we're just missing a whole bunch of the picture. And I think you have to ask yourself, is that if employers can bring in workers to come into our country, take away their passports, deport them if they speak up, make them live in certain conditions, if they complain about their rights, what power are we giving to employers in this country? How would any worker have any access to decent employment rights, let alone human rights, in this situation if we allow this to continue? Migrant workers need status upon arrival. Workers need to come to Canada and be recognised for their skills as farm workers, as restaurant workers, as cooks, as caregivers, and be granted permanent residence, just like the engineers, the doctors, and the business folks are coming in. You know, they don't need to be tied to an employer. This is indentured servitude. They should have the choice whether they live in someone's house. These are not low-skilled workers. This is significant work that forms the backbone of our economy and of our society. This is essential work. This is women's traditional work that is needed for the care of our families. And this is work that has been done by generations upon generations of our own communities. May I remind you of the Chinese community that was brought into this country to build the Pacific Railway. And what did they do to that community? They introduced the head tax so that that community could not get status, could not bring their families into this country. And guess what? The federal government just apologized recently and said, oh no, we're sorry, this was discriminatory, this was against your human rights. Well, I'm telling you, what's being done to migrant workers right now is just another form of the same thing. And we need to make those links. And as someone said before, I think it was Pam, we need to remember our history. If we don't remember our history, we don't know where we're going. And we're not going to make the links in this important fight for human rights. Right? And so, so I think I'm going to just start to wrap up. I can see being escorted out soon. He's trying to be subtle, but I got the hint. I think I just want to leave you with a couple of things. I know that this can feel overwhelming. I feel overwhelmed every day in terms of what I see. But we have a fundamental responsibility to not give up. We absolutely do. And we can get overwhelmed, that's what we need allies for. And that's why I'm coming to you as a Workers' Action Centre to say, we need you as an ally in this fight. We need you to stand with us as we fight for migrant workers' rights. We need you in the struggle to build a floor of protection for workers who don't have a union. We need you in this struggle to fight against discrimination that faces live-in caregivers and farm workers and many workers in our community that absolutely are just fighting to have a basic voice, let alone be paid. And so what I'm saying to you as you leave today and as you go back to your lives is, if there's one thing that you can do to build a connection to this important struggle, what would that be? Could you endorse the Migrant Workers Coalition for Change, which is a group of unions and community groups and faith groups, and which is helping build the leadership of migrant workers to speak out and under their leadership to take on this struggle. Because if we don't support migrant workers to speak out and to be involved, then we're doing a disservice. It's not about doing for, it's about doing in solidarity and in alliance with. And so what I'm asking you is join our coalition, get involved in this struggle. If you don't have time, give money, give resources, build connections. There's many things that we can do in this fight. Ensure that the families that you're working with in your communities across Toronto are connected to the resources around working conditions. Make sure the kids have access to workers' rights information that they can take home to their families. We need to be making these connections because so often we're pitted against each other. Those who have citizenship and those that don't. Those who are migrant workers and those that aren't. Those who are in unions and those that don't have a union. We need to say, screw that. We're going to break down those barriers. We're going to build a strong foundation for human rights. We're going to make sure that we make a difference in this struggle. And I really look forward to working